Hello everybody and welcome back to Mark's allotment. It's been a long time. Anyway, so we've got Christmas and the New Year over, and by the way, Happy New Year to anybody who's in case I haven't said so before. So right, what's the date today? I think it's something like the 3rd or the 4th of March, and probably like the rest of you, losing track of days. So what's been going on in the allotment department? Well, not a great deal, but I thought I'd better make a start, as several of the old guys down here have been making comments, jokingly of course, but behind every joke there's a serious point, isn't there? I think, maybe. Right, I'm just going to turn the camera around. So I came over yesterday and I just came over to have a look. Ended up doing a bit of work. So now thankfully certainly this area here has been under cover. There's the odd bit which was left uncovered, and of course the grass. This is ryegrass. So it was coming up around the edges, so I've chopped it down. It's into piles now. So I was going to put it on my compost heap, but I've got other plans for that, which I'll explain shortly. But so rather than put it on in my compost heap, I've decided I'm going to put it in the area between my 2 rows of asparagus. So it'll be basically a mulch really, and the goodness will eventually percolate through the soil over time, won't it? So all is not lost. Right then, so the plan for today is to plant broad beans. I normally plant them in February, but it's only the beginning of March, so we're okay, I think. Right, so without further ado, I'm going to put it onto time lapse. And yes, of course, the whole point of it is to test out my patented Mark 1. Mark 1? Yes, Mark's Mark 1 multi dibber tool to see if it'll work. Yes, I don't know. Right, okay, let's crack on. See you shortly. Okay, so before I start the process of planting my broad beans, just want to show you something first. So if you've probably come across this before, bear with me. Right, this is home saved seed. Now I tend not to spray my plants with anything, no insecticides. I mean, occasionally I do, but on the whole I don't. So as a result, I take the hit in less crops, etc. But I'm not trying to sell the stuff, so it's only for my use. Anyway, I don't know if I'll try and bring it in slowly. I don't know if you can see. If you can see that little hole there. Right, so it's some sort of pest that lives on broad beans. Now, as far as I'm aware, that makes those seeds non-viable. So, what I'm going to do, I'm going to plant them anyway, but obviously in a separate area, just to see if they do actually come. Just to prove, because I'm only going by what other people have said, but in the books. So I just want to prove to myself that is actually the truth about it. If they come and they produce, then I won't worry about it next year. But anyway, so that'll be a little experiment on the side. So I'm just going to show you the reason why I didn't want to put that grass into the compost containers. So of course, here's my bear with me, compost area. Now the main issue I have with these containers, yes, when you put compost in, they rot. It rots down eventually, but it takes forever. So the best way, as most of you will know probably, hopefully, that the best way is to compost your material and make it hot. But the size of these makes it difficult, if not impossible, to generate enough heat. Because it needs to be something like 3 foot square, volume wise. You know, well, height is not so important, but certainly, you know, 3 foot square is the ideal size for it to build up heat and hold heat and generate enough heat to rot down the material. So I want to move these first, and then obviously I've got these paving slabs, some here and some over there as well, which I've managed to blag for free, and I'm going to pave all this area here and come out as far as I can, and eventually I will make a cube shaped compost bin. So in other words, I didn't really want to put all that material back into one of these bins, then have to move it back out again to move these, because once I've planted the broad beans, I'll make a start on this, on putting these slabs down. So that's the reason. Okie doke. So it's looking a bit yucky at the moment. Still, grass and weeds are still a little bit dormant, so you know, I'm not too worried yet. Although I practice no dig, this area here beyond the paving slabs to the raspberries, and that's going to be my potatoes. So I usually dig that. That'll be dug in, and then that'll be for my potatoes. I didn't have enough plastic to cover that, so yeah. Anyway, actually, I just had I thought whether to move the plastic on top of that and to kill it off, but of course it won't die off that quickly. Right, so I'm burbling now. Okay, so what we're going to do now is get back to the filming of me planting the broad beans with my Mark 1 patented dibber, multi-dibber. See you shortly. Okay, welcome back. So I'm hoping that a bit of time lapse has come out and has worked. So just going to turn the camera a second, turn it around from that. Right, so I've planted that bed here. I just got to finish off a little bit up there. I'll probably get my wolf tool up in a minute, because I didn't bring it up with me, and I'll just work the top inch or so of soil just to make sure there's enough loose soil to go back down into the holes, so that the seeds are not suspended in mid-air, basically. Right, now then, so I've reverted back to four hole spacing here. 1, 2, yeah, 4 holes, whereas the dibber experiment was 5. Now this soil is quite sticky, unfortunately, so the first 2 or 3 rows worked okay, but after that it's difficult to pull the stakes out without letting the soil go back into the hole. So was it a failure? Well, it works up to a point. I think the soil moisture content, has to be just right for it to work properly. It'll work on, I would imagine, work on really loose soil, but that's if you dig it, and I don't want to dig the soil. So I'm not going to give up on it just yet. I'll see if when the ground dries out a bit, whether it will improve that system, or if the system will improve rather, because obviously I want to plant more broad beans than this. I mean, yes, I can. It's more than enough for my needs for eating wise, but I want to got a big bag of broad bean seeds for green manure, etc. So yes, something like that would be handy, to get as many holes done instead of one at a time. And unfortunately the dibber that I normally use, I think, is back at the house, so I had to improvise in the end of the day. Oh dear. So yeah, it's a bit disappointing, but there we are. Now then, okay, so I've done that. I think what I'll do next, I think I won't film it, but I shall roll this back a bit more now, so I can get the next strip ready, because obviously I've got a 2-foot strip here. I'll have a 1-foot strip to walk on, then another 2-foot strip to plant. I used to do 3-foot beds, but when I was planting and measured up, it actually turned out that 2-foot was more than adequate, and in fact it's easier because I can straddle 2-foot easier than 3-foot in my short legs, because I was getting cramp in my hips, because obviously I don't want to walk on the bed, but I shall try and demonstrate. So to straddle a 2-foot bed is a lot easier for weed, if I need to weed or whatever. Right, anyway, so I shall probably I've put a marker where it is, but I'm going to dig out one of these asparagus crowns. I haven't gone to all that trouble, of course, but there is method in my madness. I'm going to move one of these crowns over to the house, because if we get sort of back to normal, I've been promised by a local restaurant that they will buy some asparagus off me, which would be handy. I'm not going to ask for a great deal of money off them, but if I can cover my basic costs, in other words the rent per year of the allotments, which I think is about £20, £20, for those who don't know what quids are. Which means that it leaves me free to use this as my supply, and I'll have my own supply at home then. But I can still come over and get some of this if I need it. Right, so yep, I think that'll be enough for today. For you anyway. I'll be carrying on. I may still actually that's a good thought. I may time-lapse film me doing the compost area, and I can add that to the bank of films later. Yes, so so that was a bit disappointing, really, that dibber experiment. As I say, and also because it's made of wood, it's more grippy, whereas if it was steel spikes, maybe the soil wouldn't stick to it so much, especially stainless steel. But I'm not going to go to the expense and faff of making one of those. The idea is to make it as cheap and as easy as possible. Sometimes you can make these fancy gadgets and things like that, and in the end you think, well, I might as well have done it the old-fashioned way. There we are. Got to try. Right, anyway, bye for now.